Okay, now this table here is about what? Students, but what's the content? Students registering in some courses? No. Student having some grades in some courses. So we know this information about the student, his email, his major code, the major name, the different courses and the grades that they got in these courses. I have 2 courses here, these are their grades. 1 course, 1 grade. 3 grades. So how to deal with those? Well, first of all, is this in the first normal form? Obviously not, because of these multi-valued attributes. And then, even though it has a primary key, it seems like this one is a primary key. Now this doesn't work. Now how to make it in the first normal form? I don't know what should we call this. There's some information about some students. Let's say I'm going to make it student, for example, and then what do we have? The alpha. Well, name. I'm just going to go here. Alpha, name, email, then major code, major course. But no, I'm not going to make it courses. I don't want this to be repeated, so I'm going to make it course, not courses, and grade point, not grade points, because I want to have 1 course, 1 grade. But the problem, I would like to have many lines, so I cannot only have the alpha to be the primary key, because 1 line is going to be repeated, but for a different course. So which means I need to have the course along with the alpha, which is probably the ID of a student, to make it in a first normal form. Also? Why? If I have just the course, that's enough. Do I have the same course with the same student with different grade? Now, same course for the same student. Do I have like the same student taking the same course again? No, it doesn't seem to be the case. So the grade is not going to be part of it. But yeah, if we have some kind of information that he takes the same course again, he might have different grades, well, then yeah, we should have that. But the main thing here is that it's not courses. Not courses, or not course without the S. And same thing, just to make it clear, it's grade point and not grade points. I'm going to put this like this, so I don't have this red line bothering me. Is that clear? Everybody agrees? Now to make it in the second normal form, I just need to check that I don't have any partial dependencies. Do we have any partial dependencies? What are the partial dependencies? Name depend on, it's a name of the student, an email of a student, a major code of a student, a major of a student. So basically, all these are for the students, and not on the student and the course. The rest is based on the student and the course. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and put it separate from this one. How about this one? I don't know, it's called course details, something like that. I don't know what to call it, but in that course details I will just need to put these two, but I need the relationship, so I need to put this as a foreign key that is going to be part of the primary key here. Why? Because I have student 1 in this course 1, take this grade. Student 1 in this course 2, take this other grade, and so on. I'm not losing the fact that I have like 2 of these forming the primary key, but I just need to take these away. These should be together. Now every non-key attribute depends on the full key, not part of the key. Is that okay? Now, to make it in the third normal form, I just need to take the major out. Why? Because the major depends on the major code, which depends on the alpha. Then everything is the same, except that the major and major codes are not part of this. But I need to put some kind of major code here. Let me just keep it. I'm just going to check this one. This is becoming a foreign key, and now I'm just going to call it major, and I'm going to put inside these 2 things. And of course the major code is the primary key. And that's enough to make it in the third normal form.
Shouldn't be the major put in the beginning of the
Doesn't matter. It should be there, that's it. It doesn't have to be like before, after. Doesn't matter. It should be there. But this is not showing how I can create those tables. I'm just showing what are the tables. But the sequence obviously is this before this, because it's a foreign key. But this is not about the sequence, but this is more about what are the tables that are and what's their content. So that's this exercise here, and it's actually on the website too. The solution, I mean. Now the last one. This one over here. What does this capture? What kind of information do we have in this exercise number 5? We're selling things, and like this is a supplier. It has like some kind of code and the name. So the ID and the name, and then the product, same thing. And then we have the cost. Some kind of, what does that markup mean? Some maybe markup, maybe how much do I need to, what's the benefit margin, something like that, because you see the cost is this, 5% of this probably gives me this, but look at this, this is 100%, means it just doubles. Means this costs me let's say real, and I'm selling it with 2 reals. And the department code is the department of what? The supplier or the product?
The product.
It seems like it's product, because PR, maybe produce, BU, I don't know what that BU might stand for. This FR, fruits, fruits, ice cream, fruit, whatever, it doesn't matter, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, I don't know what this is, but it looks like it's department code of a product, not a supplier. Why is that? I don't know.
Like a bless of
Or maybe what is it put?
Yeah.
Which L, something like that. So now let's just have a look at this. This is obviously not in the first normal form, so we need to break it into parts. So let's just make it in the first normal form by call it, I don't know, product
Sales.
or sale. And then we have the supplier ID. And then supplier name. And then product ID. On product name. We're not talking about the primary key, we're just splitting now.
Cost.
Then we have cost, markup,
Department.
price, and department, something like that, code. Now What's the primary key?
Supplier ID, product ID, and
No,
yeah, that's it.
supplier ID
And product ID.
and product ID. Why can't I just use the product ID?
Um,
We have
Oh.
multi-valid product name.
oh,
Like what? Oh, this one?
yeah.
I think this is one type of.
No,
It's one type of tomatoes. Like this small, this plum tomatoes, small ones. I think. No, these are cherry tomatoes. No, plum tomatoes is like the ones that are maybe
Yeah.
not round but like oval. So it's a one type. It's a one type of. It's not like two types, plum and tomatoes.
product ID.
The product ID should be enough.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Why this is not enough?
Because here, the second and third, that's 232. You have the same primary key and the,
Where?
on the left,
The supplier.
23, card codes and 22 card codes.
Well, if this supplier is repeating, it's not a problem because it's not a primary key. What is a primary key? Is this?
You want the primary key here and it will be written again, the primary key. The same number.
No. This is a different primary key, but this is different, same number.
So only product ID.
Yeah. If we set this to be the primary key, if this repeats, that's not a problem because it's not a primary key.
But
Yeah.
what if you get the same product from two different suppliers?
Do we have that?
Same,
But it might be.
same
So-
product and supplier every time.
But based on the data, it doesn't seem to be the case, right? But it might be that we have like the same product from different suppliers. That's more logical, actually, that you have one. But it seems like based on this, that one product have one
And the first number
one type of
primary.
supplier. So we're just going to go for this simple fact without going any further. So sale is not actually the most accurate one. I would like to put it product because it makes more sense. It's just related to the product. And by putting the product ID to be the primary key, I made it in the first number form. All right?
Yeah.
Now, in the second normal form, I don't even need to think about it because it's one.
You only have one primary key.
It's on one column. I don't have a composite primary key. I always have only one primary key, but I have only one. I don't have a composite primary key, so it's the same. Now, in the third normal form,
We should separate it now.
we should separate what?
The suppliers.
Now, this is some kind of a group, and this is another one, because this supplier name just depends on supplier ID, which is given by the product ID. So there's this transitive dependency that we can just get rid of. We can just remove this. Actually, we need it somewhere. We still needed to have a link because this is still needed inside, so we can keep track of what's the supplier. But I'm just going to put supplier here, and inside I'll put the supplier ID and the supplier name, with the supplier ID to be the primary key. Any other things?
What about the cost or markup related to the directly to the product ID?
Yeah,
If I give
it's-
you the product ID, can I know what markup? Yeah.
Yeah, because this is like some kind of this is a calculated, actually. This price is a calculated
Of markup and
based on calculated attribute based on the cost and the markup. This multiplied by this percent gives you this. So 3 times of 0.5, it's 1.5. So that's actually what it is. So this, you see that this depends on the markup and the costs,
not depend on the product.
not the product.
Yes.
So what do you want to do? Check it out?
check it out.
But this is a calculated. Well, you're right. It doesn't depend on the product ID because it depends on these two.
It's derived attribute.
It's a derived attribute. But how can we deal with those derived attributes? Are we going to check them out? What are you suggesting?
Keep it the price, but the markup and cost, check it out.
No, it's not possible. Why you keep the price here and cost
We
and
calculate outside, then we know that.
then you're going to be you have a problem there. Why do you put it like that? I don't know. What you let me get your suggestion. What are you suggesting? What's the table name? Calculation total. And then inside what do we have?
Cost, markup, price.
Cost, markup, price.
Yes, and the cost is the primary key because it's not changing.
The cost is your primary key,
Yeah, it's not changing.
so it's a foreign key here, and you take it. That's what you want to do.
No, that's not all.
Why? Well, it might work.
Keep the price.
But if you do this, you get the cost as a foreign key, and then from the cost you get the price
You need
based on the markup. I need what?
project ID to be primary key in the total.
It's actually
Why?
You can't have cost as primary key
Why?
because you can have the same cost.
Because some products, two or more products have the same
many products
cost.
have many.
Do we have,
Yes.
for example, like these two? You see, they have the same. But if they are the same, they have this. These are not a good example. They have because they have the same markup. But we might have something that is not actually the same. Unfortunately, these examples actually they all have the same markup. If this is 2.5, this is 100%. 2.5, 100%. But we might have 2.5 and then 50% or 200% or something like that.
You need project ID.
I think it's a relation many to many. So we need table. We remove the cost, the foreign key cost.
Well, I think this is not part of what is going to be like a partial dependency. This is what we mean with this partial dependency, because this is not something that if you give me a value, you give another one. This is just a result of a calculation of these two. Now these two together gives you this. It's a result of a calculation, not a dependency. So it's not like the same idea like we have, if you give me the product ID, I'll give you the supplier ID, and then they will give you the supplier name. Some kind of dependency the same way. This is a different type of dependency, which is not the one that we need to include in the part when it's not a functional dependency. That's what I'm trying to say. This is a dependency, that's true, but it's a calculation. Yeah. So we leave it like this.
Not in the
Yeah. It's not a functional dependency, so we don't do that. Yes.
So they are all given by the product ID. Actually,
With, yes. Yes. If you give me the product ID, I give you the rest. Look at here. Give me the product ID, I give you the rest.
And why should we have also the supply ID as a funding? Can you see that? Can you see this?
Welcome back. Okay, I think that's it. No more questions.